bring this meeting to order. If you rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I would like to make the comment that given the COVID-19 virus pandemic that's going on and the restrictions that we have underway, no public is present, but we are, as per open meeting law, broadcasting this to the public. And if there's any public listening, they can feel free to provide us with the necessary information. The board members are 6 feet apart, and in the future we are evaluating Zoom as a means to do that. We are unable to do teleconferences because under the meeting law we have to be able to see one another, so it needs to be a video conference, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. So let's start with minutes. May I have a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from 3/9, March 9th? Okay, Karen, second?
Second.
Okay. And are there any questions or comments about those minutes? All right, all in favor to accept them, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion is carried. We will forego the public comment unless there is a board member who would like to speak as the public. Okay, not seeing any hands raised, we'll go to the report of Public Works. And Roger is not here, again, because of the COVID pandemic. And I believe that Mr. Trustee Doneker will do that. There's been a brief interruption. Is someone coming in? Yeah. It's okay, Crystal?
Yeah, I thought I heard the door open.
Yep, okay. All right. So, Mr. Doneker, if you would like to...
Yeah, based on Roger's report, the last 30-day activities included, plowing and sanding.
Yep.
That included the school and the firehouse. He cleaned and he continually flooded the skating rink. He did work on the ski trail, removed snow from the sidewalks, garbage and recycling. Cleared snow again at the beach parking lot, cut the snowbanks down as needed, and then cut and chip some of the brush that was falling down along the roads. Next 30 days, he's going to take down the skating rink, start sweeping the roads, clean out roadside ditches, sweep the school and firehouse parking lots, get garage and recyclables, rake the cemetery, fix any damage at the park, cut brush along the road, and work on the budget, which he's been doing continually, and post those roads to 6 tons. I think that's already done.
It is already done, correct.
Next 6 days is basically the same: roadside ditching, cemetery cleanup, work on the dirt section of Elm Lake Road, repaint lines at the clerk's office and pavilion parking lot, and garbage and recycles. Excuse me, cut branches, clean ditches. Shipped activities, he's still waiting on the truck, and file paperwork for grass, socks, and seeds, and I'll ask him to expand exactly what work he's going to do.
Yes.
In the next report.
Great.
He's also following the guidelines and procedures to help prevent the spread of the virus. They're undertaking frequent hand washings, social distancing to 6 feet, working outside as much as possible, disinfecting surfaces, trucks, tools, and working alone. If anyone has the fever or flu, they're told to go home and see their doctor.
Correct. And I check in with both Roger and Ed to reinforce that as much as possible. And we'll go into that more under the COVID-19. Something to add is that I was contacted by the Garden Club, Lynn Brown and Linda Walters. They have said, as a result of this COVID-19 and supply chains and all that sort of stuff, there will be no barrels put out this year. So that will be some decreased work for the DPW there, and a sad looking village. However, they are going to focus their efforts on the existing gardens to make them even better than what they are.
Did you let Roger know?
Not yet.
I'll email him.
Okay, if you would do that. In addition to the last 30 days activities, they did cut down 3 dead trees down at the park and have cleared those, and were able to do so before the ice went down, and those were identified by a tree expert prior to their removal. So that's great. I was wondering, we do have the missing pine tree down at the park, and there are all those huge boulders at Charlie John's. Is there a possibility perhaps that we can snag one of those or be donated one of those and put it as a headstone for the dead tree? Well, not really, you know what I mean, you know.
A replacement.
A replacement.
A place to sit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let me
Just a
ask-
thought.
Let me ask Roger.
Roger and Jonathan.
Yeah. If you have to think that, you want him to take the stump out too.
How much would that cost?
Oh, Roger's gonna let go.
Oh, well, if we can take out some of that stump, I think that'd be good, because otherwise, as it decays, it's going to leave a depression. I would like to note, based on public comment that was provided last meeting, the Christmas tree has come down, but I would like to note that the Christmas tree came down the day before I saw on the news that people were lighting Christmas lights to boost people's spirits. So we were a day late and a few lights short, but that's fine. Okay, so moving on to the clerk treasurer.
Just a quick update, gold certification for the New York State retirement system. The update to enhanced reporting has now been complete. Finished that up a couple weeks ago. And will now have more comprehensive reporting within the New York State retirement system. This includes being able to record regular hours, overtime hours, vacation, sick, you know, all the different aspects of an employee's month. The election, as you all know, has been postponed to April 28th so far. I have spoken to Rebecca Recido, I think that's how you pronounce her name, from NICOM. She does, she works within the election part of NICOM. She said that as of last week, I spoke to her Friday, they were waiting on further guidance from the state on when deadlines were going to be. I have not heard back from her. She said hopefully this week we would get an answer as far as absentee voters, what that means for new deadlines for that, whether, you know, the absentee voters that already sent stuff in would be counted, whether new people could apply. She assumes that, you know, since it's a new date, people who are not going to be here on the 28th would be able to fill out an application and be an absentee voter for that date, but there's you know, they're waiting, no confirmation, they're waiting for an update from the state as well on that. There was a survey that went around regarding the election date, and what villages do for their elections, whether the county holds them for them or whether they have their own, whether they use scanning machines or whether they do paper ballots. I'm not exactly sure where that's gonna go as far as the...
Some of that is, I believe is it the Republican primary is on the same date?
Right.
So if you're doing
right.
county, then there's
Right.
more stuff going on.
So still waiting for guidance on that from them.
So what direction do we give voters who have been calling asking, hey, can I do absentee ballot now?
Unfortunately, we don't have any direction we can give at the moment. Our deadlines are all
Passed.
are all sanctioned by the state. And in order for me to have more information, I have to hear from the state or NICOM in order to, you know, get that information. The budget is, I think we had our last meeting today, and I think we are in a good place to present that. Hopefully next week, if we can all get together for a meeting. I think we were planning on Monday, if that is Monday evening, if that is acceptable for everybody.
Can we do that Monday day, so Crystal doesn't?
Yeah, we may be able to do
Switch
that.
To Monday, like 1 o'clock, same time? Do we have enough time?
Okay.
Well, we're going to try and do it by Zoom.
Yes.
So if we can do it by Zoom and it's open to the public, can be open to the public, then we may have to
Go
wait.
back to the.
Keep it to
Yeah.
the
So
regular
stay tuned.
meeting
Other-
time.
no,
Okay.
And as for right now, the budget deadlines are not compromised by the COVID-19 virus. Since we can do our public hearing through a video chat or live streaming, we don't have to extend those dates at all.
Terrific.
So
All right.
that
Good.
is it.
Good, thank you. May I have a motion to approve financial report number 7? Mark Doniker, and second? Mark Crary. And any questions or comments to the financial report? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? And it passes. All right. Have people been able to look at abstract number 19?
Yes.
Are we in a position to make a recommendation to pay abstract 19? Okay, Mark Doniker, a second?
Second.
Mark Crary. All in favor of paying abstract number 19, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Okay.
Oh.
So there are 2 things. We do have an executive session with regarding Moose Creek holding notice of claim with Shop Law. I did tell him that we would call him at 3 because you need to leave.
That'd be great, yeah.
So I would like to have a motion to go into executive session now and then come out and I'll give you the COVID-19 update.
Great.
Is that okay? So may I have a motion to suspend to go into executive session?
So moved.
Karen, second? Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So at this time, we're resuming the meeting at 3:29 p.m. Karen McComb is taking her leave with a prior commitment. So I just wanted, there would be, so I think at this point, I just wanted to give you a COVID-19 update and how it's impacting us. So the first thing is regarding meetings. I think going forward, as this continues, just for everyone's safety, is to look into the possibility of Zoom meetings where a few of us can join and the public can participate. So we would be able to post that. I've heard of good success. So if I can ask Crystal if she would do that for us. Under the mandates put out by Governor Cuomo, the way the office has been running and the way that I've tried to keep you appraised of that is one of Stacy or Crystal is in the office at any given time, only up to 4 hours. Appointments are made. No one walks in unassumed. Tree will be working in the back here, but that's well more than 6 feet away, so there's proper distances. Protocols of hand washing on entering, hand sanitizer, wiping down religiously. I think Crystal has done it at least 3 times today. I've done it at least once, and we'll do it another couple times before we leave. So that's what we're doing in the office. Because of the computers that we do have, 100% able to remote from home through all of this, which I think is fantastic.
I've actually been remoting in on the days that I haven't been in the office.
Right. So everything that's on computer, Crystal was able to access, which is really terrific. So I think that's paying off for us, that upgrade. So in relation to DPW and wastewater treatment plant, Governor Cuomo's initiative is to cut non-essential people. The town has opted to only have 2 out of 10 highway people at a time, down to one person in their office by appointment only. In the village, I think it's important that we keep up with operations as safely as we can. And so, as you heard in Roger's report, I think it's important for us to keep our roads clear. I think it's important for us to prepare as we can for spring and summer to get the debris off the roads from our past storms, of which there have been many. So no more than 3 men are in the garage at a time, and they have to be there with a purpose. They are either one guy is fixing a truck and one is in the very back or whatever, but no congregations, no sitting at the lunch tables. When they are done with lunch, one person is done with lunch, everything gets wiped down. When they're done with tools, things are sprayed down with disinfectant. Every truck they get into is wiped before they get in and after they're done with the day. We've increased the frequency of bathroom cleaning, which I think is very important. I think it's an important service to provide as people come through because everything is closed. Thank you to Tree for keeping that up. And again, protocols are in use where we're using hydrogen peroxide based disinfectant, which kills the virus on contact. In wastewater, of course, another essential treatment, Lenny and Ed are carrying that on. We also have time sensitive and season sensitive upgrades going on. So the consultants, the contractors are using their protocols, but again, Lenny and Ed are following the same protocols as for DPW. So do we have any questions about that? No, okay. The next thing is that I've received a number of calls, and I'm sure you have as well, about the alarming rate at which people are returning to the area, many of which from hotspots in the New York metropolitan area, Long Island, New Jersey is heating up, Pennsylvania not so much. CDC has recommended that people coming from these areas quarantine. So quarantine means not going out, not going to the stores and buying supplies, staying in their home.
How is that being policed?
It's not being policed. So the only way that
That's what I've been at.
it can't be policed.
Okay.
So when I know of people who are coming in from the area, I respectfully ask them for our own safety and for theirs to stay quarantined. If there are any issues with them needing shopping or something like that, there are any number of people who are willing to do that. Charlie Johns very kindly is offering a delivery service as well. So there are options to do that. Department of Health should be notified if people are quarantining. So the Department of Public Health number is available for that. I've also been asked by one fellow in particular whether we were going to put up barricades to prevent people coming in, and short of the National Guard being called out, we won't be able to do that. So the best thing that we can do is to encourage one another and our neighbors to practice the distance, wash your hands, do the hand sanitizer. And I do have some dear friends that I was in grad school with. She is an infectious disease specialist in medicine, works for the Ministry of Health, and is on WHO task forces for pandemics like this in Singapore. So she represents out of Singapore. They said, take every precaution. You think that it's far away, and you think that it's deadly far away, and it's so far away until it's not. So far, the reports that I've heard, we don't have any active cases that have been identified in Hamilton County, although there are a number of people who are under quarantine and self-isolation. With that said, they are not testing people to see if they have the infection or the virus until they get hospitalized. So do not assume we don't have anything in Hamilton County. assume that we do, and act appropriately. People are stepping up with Meals on Wheels. There's also some volunteers who are putting together meals for some of our older neighbors. I really encourage all of us to adopt a couple of people that you can call each day, that you can, check in on, because that's the only way we're going to get through this. And especially our older and infirmed population. It's isolating anyway during mud season, but this adds that much more. I did issue a posting to our website asking people not to come back to the Adirondacks. Please stay at bay, help us take care of our own. Hamilton County Department of Public Health, Public Nursing also issued a letter yesterday. I did encourage them to make that a press release so that it would go on beyond Facebooks and websites for those people who are in the metropolitan area, that they would also hear and ask them not to return. But if they do, because we cannot prohibit them from coming, because they are homeowners, they own property and pay taxes, we can't prohibit them from coming, but strongly urge them to quarantine for 14 days as per the CDC. Any questions? So we have added a tab, thank you Crystal and Dave Barris, our webmaster, on COVID-19 updates. There's some practical information there. There are the Department of Public Health things going on there, and then what I've provided going out as well. Anything that I get, I've been keeping the board apprised of. Again, if there's any questions whatsoever, let me know. What I was not aware of last week was that the county had declared a state of emergency. They did that in part for the school closings and shutting down county offices with the exception of social services, and then having things done by appointment only. What I found out later was the next day, the town had also declared a state of emergency. I did not see any specific orders that would enhance what is already in place. So questioning whether the village should order a state of emergency. I have been in contact with NICOM lawyers. I've been in contact with Bill Farber as well. Right now, everything that we're doing is within the state of emergency issued by Governor Cuomo and by the county itself. And so we are being compliant with that. Any questions? Okay. So there was a question coming from wastewater treatment plant employees. We are very, very conscious of our budgets. We are very conscious that we will be going into a recession, more than likely. And so a question arose whether we would be willing to increase the overall amount of comp time that can be accrued in lieu of overtime. So at present, those limits are 40 hours, and the recommendation was to increase it to 80 hours.
For a temporary basis. Right.
It could be, well, if we...
Temporarily due to the...
So we could do it from now until June. Is that how temporary you're suggesting, or for the duration of the year, duration of the pandemic?
Pandemic. Because wasn't that what initially brought on
That is what's triggering it,
yes.
Right? So,
No,
discussion?
I'm in disagreement. I think they should get paid overtime. Comp time is still time and a half. They'll use it, we still have to pay them. I think you're better off just paying them overtime. And it was based on last year's budget anyway, so their time is basically covered. And then next year, take a look at it after the next budget to see if that needs to be changed. But at this time, I don't recommend making that change.
Okay. Letty, you have any thoughts?
No.
Mark, you have any thoughts?
Not today, I don't.
Okay, so I think at this, go ahead.
Other than we've been down this road Not too
before.
long ago.
Well, we talked about, you know, the amount of sick leave they have, the vacation, plus the comp time that they can get. So it was really just, if you can pay them, you pay them, and they deserve to be paid. And we just, with two people there, they keep gathering comp time and vacation time and sick leave. You know, if somebody actually gets sick, we'll have nobody there, and that's a problem,
Okay,
so.
All right.
okay,
I agree with Mark on
okay, and Letty?
That's one of the disadvantages of only two people down there, which is what we have been talking about for a number of years, okay? So, that's the game you're playing, and you're gonna have to pay.
Yes. So next week, we're going to, Crystal is very kindly going to present the budget, and that's something that has been tossed around, whether we should consider hiring one person that would be 2 days, one with water, one with sewer, and then 3 days with DPW, not hiring a temp, summer temp, and what are the pros and cons and how that works. I think at this point, we are not, putting that in the budget. That's going to be delayed, but certainly to address those questions that we had in the very beginning. I think the board would have had those questions when they went to two people.
My concern has always been not having anybody on board as a trainee, or, I mean, if Ed decides that he's gonna move on to something bigger and better, you're gonna be in a bad way. Lenny is probably doing a good job where he is, but I'm not exactly sure that that's the avenue that we want to pursue for somebody taking Ed's place.
Yes, succession planning is key, not only for wastewater and backup purposes, but with the DPW as well, as our workforce is aging. So I think there are going to be some decisions that have to be made and plans that have to be put in place.
It's difficult here, as you can see.
Of course.
In town, not being able to get a mechanic, you know, and I know when we were going through the process of replacing Charlie or Florence, you know, we had 15 to 20 resumes that were presented, we did interviews. But when they got here and they found out what the true picture was,
Right.
you know, it always sounded good on paper, but, you know, in actuality, you know, we got Ed just as a quirk because his father knew we were looking, his father does this, and he just got out of college, so he was happy to get the job.
Right.
But there's nothing to say that he isn't gonna want to, with his experience and his education, go on to something bigger and better.
Right. Yep, you're right. So we do need to have a keen eye towards succession planning and backup support. Absolutely. Okay, so budget planning, we're going to present the budget at a special meeting next Monday. We are determining whether we can do it by Zoom. If we do it by Zoom, that would be open to the public. So we would have that at a regular scheduled time at 7 o'clock when the public is available. If we are unable to do it by Zoom, we would do a similar sort of meeting here. The recommendation is that we would set it at 1 p.m. since the public cannot participate, and we would record it and broadcast in keeping with the open meeting laws. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Do you put it out for public view, I mean, paper copy in any locations that people can pick up and review before?
We would do that on the website.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be made public. If, and we would note in these minutes as well as wherever we post it, that once that budget is to go for public comment, if they need a paper copy, would we be able to provide it, Crystal? We should be able to provide it. They would have to call ahead. We'd slip it under the door.
Just a note, we did have a notice that went in the paper this week for a special meeting
On Monday
on Monday
at 7.
at 7.
Okay. So it'd be good if we could keep it, because now it's
Yes.
Thursday. I think we need to keep it at 7.
Yes.
Okay, scratch that.
We're going for 7 o'clock.
Okay, 7 p.m. Monday,
All right.
because we would have to have 72 hours and we don't.
Right.
We don't have that.
And we put that in the paper,
In the
knowing
paper.
that we most likely were gonna be presenting it Monday,
Yep,
and, we wanted to have that time
Yes.
for the public to know.
yes, perfect. All right, we leave it at 7. All of that said, fire tower, I'm still waiting to hear from, DEC about finalizing that contract, but they have everything that they need, so we're going ahead. We would be reimbursed out of that for the first portion of the down payment, and then the second down payment would go there. Small cells, there was a brief interchange between Verizon lawyer and ourselves. That seems to be clear. They need to come back and say, this is when we're gonna start, which I hope is sooner rather than later. Much to Letty's displeasure, I think we are going to wait on the handbook review and update. I know, but since
We could do that by Zoom.
we could, and I'll be able to see whether you're still there. So we do have to finish that handbook, but as you all know, with the delay of the election, there is an extension of your terms. So just so that everybody understands that fully. Okay, LED streetlights. We still do not have National Grid. National Grid buyout. So I will prompt them again, asking where that is. And in that scenario, as you all know, we have looked at that. We've dropped the overall cost of that down to a 7-year payback rather than a 10-year payback. And we can discuss, full steam ahead or not, but I think it doesn't change anything for our budget, as far as electrical goes for the next 7 years. And I think in the long run, we will definitely see significant savings without any outlay from the village. So that's just an aside there. And then I'm sorry, I missed my favorite one, FEMA, the Emergency Halloween Storm Update. I have been working with Crystal and with New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. We have 1 month from today to file all of our paperwork there. Been working diligently with spreadsheets, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're in good shape. We also have projects that are identified. So the way it works is twofold. One is that FEMA reimburses us for everything we did as part of the emergency. So we signed up for debris relief. So everything we did related to debris from man hours and equipment would get reimbursed at 75%. To date, we have not heard back from New York State. The second portion of that is all the emergency things that we've done. And again, that gets reimbursed 75%. They do not pay straight time. They would reimburse only overtime, 75%. So that's another chunk to get reimbursed. The third portion of that are volunteer hours. So our volunteer fire department donated approximately 240 hours towards that effort. New York State Dishes is supposed to get back to me with what that figure is. I think the last time they said it was nearly $30 an hour that we would be reimbursed for that. And it's my understanding that it would be the straight 30, not 75% of that. And then in addition, management time. So that includes my time, Ed's time, Roger's time, Crystal, and Stacy. Anybody who's gone into making spreadsheets, collecting data, directing whatever. So Ryan was collecting information as well. So all of that time gets combined and we get reimbursed 75% of salary. And I think all volunteer time in there, we get that set rate. So hopefully we'll survive that. So the third part of that are projects. So the projects that have been identified that we're working towards and that the engineer, Brendan, I'm blanking on Brendan's last name. Brendan Becker from Lamont Engineers, he provided us with an engineering report that looks at Pump station 2, I think that's tilted,
Yes.
a broken valve that needs to be replaced or fixed. It involves the roads. Elm Lake Road in particular was pretty badly damaged up back. May or may not need additional coverage back there. There is an exposed water pipe going near the bridge that needs to be, it's recommended by the engineer to back drill, or however you drill that, to bury that appropriately. And then the last project would be the point, the park, and the ball field to see if there's any damage there. Haven't been able to assess it with the flooding, then with the snow and ice, so they have people available to do that. So once those projects are all submitted, the FEMA comes and then we do a site visit. And we walk through and we actually show them what we've got, what needs to be done, and they do the thumbs up, the thumbs down. So at that time, we have a decision to make as far as how those projects are funded. FEMA allows huge projects, anything over, I believe it's $131,000, that we would put a plan in place, put that all together, and then it's like any other grant. You submit invoices, you track it all along the way, and at the end of the day, you're reimbursed 75% of whatever you've put out. The other way to do it is to break it down into smaller chunks of less than $131,000 per project. And in that scenario, we estimate to the best of our ability in conjunction with FEMA as to how much a project will cost. They will reimburse us 75% upfront, and then it's up to us to do it. If we find out that we estimated it was going to cost $125,000 to do something, and we really messed up in our estimations and it's $140,000, we eat that difference. They don't come back, we don't get to do a do-over. Likewise, if we've been pretty good in our estimates and even more efficient in the way we've done it, and it's a little under, we would keep the balance. That's not to say that all of our projects would ever be overblown so that we can get balance, but we would appropriately do that in conjunction with New York State and FEMA. Okay. Anything else? We do things by the letter of the law.
Is there any indication from FEMA that they may delay the requirements for April?
No, I have begged.
Really?
They have their timelines. So in addition to that, next Friday, I believe, a state of emergency has been declared and has been accepted by FEMA that COVID-19 virus is a FEMA emergency. So it should be a little less intrusive than this one is. And we'll see whether there's anything that would be qualified as part of that on behalf of Speculator. Not sure yet. So stay tuned for that. But I will say this year has been incredibly eventful. And it really has been 5 months between our disasters, and I hope that the next disaster when it comes will be when I'm long gone. I'd just like to put that out as a personal plea, God.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So anyway, so we've had a lot going on this past year, and
You've done a
That's
great job. Thank you for your leadership.
thank you. And thank you for all of your support, and we got to work together to keep it going and keep things moving, keeping people employed. So, all right, round table. Any comments? No? Okay. So may I have a motion to close the meeting? Letty Roods, her hand is up to make a motion. Mark Crary seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned at 3:55 p.m. Thank you.